In the dusty archives of history, some stories slip through the cracks of memory. They vanish not because they're unimportant, but because they're inconvenient. This is the story of a man who stood at the crossroads of three great civilizations. A man whose choice, made in a single moment, 13 centuries ago, sent shockwaves through the Arabian Peninsula. Today, his name appears in footnotes. His significance diminished. His deeper family saga almost completely erased. But what if his story holds the key to understanding not just ancient history, but the very tensions that define the Middle East right now? What if the conflict between Israel and Iran, between Jewish and Islamic civilizations, between Persian and Arab power, what if all of it has roots stretching back to the moment a respected Jewish rabbi chose to become someone else entirely? This is the story of Al-Husayn ibn Salam, the man history remembers as Abdullah. Let's travel back to around 550 CE, to a thriving Jewish community in the city of Medina. At this time, Medina was a multicultural hub. Jewish tribes held real power and influence here. Different religions coexisted, traded, competed, negotiated for dominance. Among them, the Banu Qaynuqa, one of the most prominent Jewish clans in the city. This is where our story begins. A boy was born named Al-Husayn ibn Salam. His family didn't just belong to the Banu Qaynuqa. They traced their lineage back to something far older, something sacred. They claimed descent from the tribe of Joseph, one of the legendary 12 tribes of ancient Israel. This mattered enormously. It meant his family carried the authority of ancient tradition. It meant they had legitimate claims to spiritual and political leadership. Al-Husayn grew up surrounded by Torah scrolls and sacred texts. His father groomed him for religious leadership. And by adulthood, he had become a respected rabbi, known not just for his knowledge of scripture, but for his unwavering truthfulness and deep piety. He was, by all accounts, exactly where he was supposed to be, a guardian of Jewish tradition, a living link to an ancient heritage. To understand this man, we have to understand the world he inherited. For centuries, the Sassanid Persian Empire had shaped the religious, political, and cultural landscape of the Middle East. Persia didn't just control territory, it shaped how religions developed, how communities organized, who had power and who didn't. And tradition identifies Al-Husayn as a nephew of Nehemiah ben Hushiel, a Persian Jewish military commander and political leader who fought for the restoration and protection of Jerusalem. Nehemiah represented something crucial, the idea that Jews could be more than subjects. They could be warriors, leaders, sovereigns of their own destiny. This was the legacy Al-Husayn inherited, a family memory of resistance, of military power, of political significance. When he was born, around 550 CE, that legacy was still alive in family memory. The pride in Jewish autonomy would have been instilled in him from childhood. But history was about to take a dramatic turn. Around 622 CE, something extraordinary happened. A man arrived in Medina, claiming to be a prophet sent by God. His name was Muhammad. To the Jewish rabbis of the city, this was met with skepticism, perhaps alarm. Jewish tradition was clear. Prophecy belonged to a specific lineage, a specific people, a specific history. How could an Arab merchant claim what only the descendants of Israel possessed? For centuries, the old order had held: Persian dominance, Jewish religious authority, Byzantine Christian presence. Now, an entirely new claim to divine authority was being made. A new civilization was being born. Unlike many of his fellow rabbis, who rejected Muhammad's message outright, Al-Husayn did something extraordinary. He listened, he questioned, he investigated. What was Muhammad's teaching about God? What was his stance on the Torah? How did he understand the prophets who came before him? Abraham, Moses, Mashiach. These weren't casual questions. This was a rigorous theological examination. And according to historical accounts, Al-Husayn became convinced, not through pressure, not through politics, through genuine conviction. But here's what's crucial. This wasn't just a religious decision, it was a civilizational choice. By converting, Al-Husayn was aligning himself with an emerging Arab power against the traditional Persian Jewish Byzantine structure that had defined his entire world. The decision would have been agonizing. He wasn't a common man who could simply change his faith without consequence. He was a rabbi. He had status, authority, a lineage tracing back to ancient Jewish dynasties. And if the traditions are correct, if Al-Husayn truly was related to the family of Nehemiah ben Hushiel, then this moment carried even more weight. It wasn't just a rejection of Jewish religion, it was a rejection of an entire legacy of Jewish political and military independence. It was a choice to abandon the dream of Jewish sovereignty and instead become a servant, which is what Abdullah means, within a new Arab Islamic order. Yet he did it. Al-Husayn ibn Salam walked into the presence of the Prophet Muhammad and declared his conversion to Islam. And in that moment, he received a new name, Abdullah, servant of God. His old identity didn't just change, it was transformed into something new. After his conversion, Abdullah became something new, a witness. He wasn't just a believer, he was living proof that Islam's message could convince even the most learned Jewish scholars. In early Islamic texts, Abdullah is mentioned again and again. He testifies to the Prophet's character. He shares his knowledge of Jewish scripture, helping the Muslim community understand the connections between their faith and the traditions that came before. But notice what's happening here. His Jewish knowledge is now being incorporated into Islam. His authority as a scholar now serves Islamic purposes. His learning, his piety, his credibility, all of it now an asset of the Muslim community, not the Jewish one. He had become, in effect, a trophy of Islamic expansion. Evidence that even the highest Jewish authorities recognized Islam's truth. As Islam spread across the Arabian Peninsula, military campaigns became necessary to protect the faith and expand its reach. Abdullah ibn Salam, now in his 60s, participated in the Muslim conquest of Syria and Palestine, the very lands that held sacred significance for both Jewish and Christian tradition. He was no longer just a scholar, he was a soldier, a warrior fighting for the expansion of the Islamic State. Think about this moment carefully. A former Jewish rabbi, descended from the tribe of Joseph, now fighting to conquer the territories where his ancestors had once lived. What was he thinking, marching through the dusty roads of Palestine? Did he remember the stories of his people? Did he feel the weight of history? The records tell us little about his inner experience. But we can imagine the complexity of his position. A Jew by birth, fighting for Islam, in the very land of his people. Was this triumph, or was it tragedy? The answer depends on your perspective, and that's precisely the point. This moment contains the seeds of everything that would follow. Abdullah ibn Salam lived until around 663 CE, dying as a respected member of the Muslim community. But over the centuries, something happened. His importance began to shrink in the historical record. His story was simplified, the complexities removed, the deeper implications buried. Why? Because his fuller story is deeply inconvenient for narratives on both sides. For Islamic scholars, his story is useful only insofar as it proves Islam's truth. But the fuller context, his family's role in fighting for Jewish independence, his participation in conquering Jewish lands, that's less comfortable. For Jewish scholars, Abdullah is even more inconvenient. He represents apostasy, collaboration with the very forces that would marginalize Jewish communities for centuries to come. So both sides had reasons to simplify his story, to let it fade. But his story is essential to understanding the modern Middle East, essential to understanding the Israeli-Iranian conflict, specifically. For centuries under Persian rule, Jewish communities had negotiated their place within larger imperial systems. They existed as distinct communities, with their own leadership, their own military capability. Figures like Nehemiah embodied this. Jews who could be warriors, leaders, sovereigns. But Abdullah's conversion marks a turning point. It represents the moment Jewish communities began their long transition from autonomous status to subordinated minorities within Islamic states. A pattern that would shape Middle Eastern politics for the next 1,300 years. Fast forward to 1948. The establishment of Israel represented something extraordinary. The restoration of Jewish sovereignty in the Middle East after nearly 2,000 years. From the Iranian perspective, as heir to the Persian imperial tradition, Israel's existence represents a reversal of the very pattern established in the 7th century. This is why the conflict runs so deep. It's not simply about territory or resources or even religion. It's about whether the order established by the Islamic conquests will continue or be undone. Abdullah ibn Salam made a choice in the 7th century. He bet on the rising power. And in his lifetime, he won that bet. But what he couldn't see, what no one could see, was the long-term consequence. That choice helped establish a pattern lasting over 13 centuries. Today, that pattern is being challenged. But here's what matters most. His choice wasn't written in the stars. It was a human decision made by one man in one moment. And because it was a choice, it can be unmade. Different futures are still possible. We just have to be willing to remember the whole story. This has been the forgotten story of Abdullah ibn Salam, the hidden rabbi who stood at the crossroads of history. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who'd find it meaningful too.